Thank you. Thank you very much for your amazing welcome to this extraordinary city. And I want to take us on a journey into the future. I want to look at internationalization, some of the impact of the digital world, and also innovation. And I want to bring together some of the ideas we heard yesterday and also this morning. And I live at the center of this radar screen. My job is to guide many of the largest organizations in the world on strategy. But all innovation happens on the outer edge. All risk management is here. All the exciting things in the world are there. And so, if we wish to innovate, we have to take some risks and explore on the outer edge. And that is where I want to go today. But of course, we live in very uncertain times. And I want to make a couple of comments about the economic situation right now. While we can't be certain, of course, what is going to happen, one thing is clear. We began with a credit crisis, the subprime crisis, which created a crisis in banking. As the banks were rescued, after 3 years, it has created a crisis in government. Instead of bankrupt banks, we now have bankrupt governments. Correct? Right. So let's be clear. And the next 3 years could be the greatest risks of all to the global economy since the 1930s. So what next? Of course, to allow a bankrupt bank to go bust, we have to to allow a bankrupt country to go bust, we then need to go back to our bankrupt banks and provide extra strength for them so they can survive. So we go from bankrupt banks, bankrupt countries. Now we have to protect the banks some more, allow a country like Greece to go bust, perhaps to leave the euro, perhaps not. But to go bust, yes. To default on debt, yes. All we are doing at the moment is giving large amounts of money to Greece to pay its interest back to European banks. So why don't we just pay the European banks direct and let Greece go bust? These are huge questions. They are complex. But at the same time, as we have questions about the survival of the European Union, we need to look at what is happening outside the Eurozone. In my country, the government has made a decision to do what it can only do now. Now there is very little left. Very few opportunities to rescue the UK economy are left, except one, which is to print money. So much money that the UK government will soon own 33% of its own debt. How? By simply printing on pieces of paper and giving you the pieces of paper in exchange for government debt. It's a wonderful technique. It costs nothing, only paper and ink. This great invention was created by Germany in the 1930s with wonderful results, which is the reason why the European Central Bank is so careful today about inflation. So we live in a strange world. For me, it is madness that the European Central Bank has continued to keep interest rates as high as they are today, when a country like Spain, if you had your own economy, I know your interest rate would be set at around 0.5%, because that's what Spain needs today. So these are huge, complex challenges. There are massive pressures, and it is difficult to see how the Eurozone can survive with one currency, but many governments. So we will see. Because, as we will see in a moment, the future will not be driven by economics, nor by innovation. There is one word which will drive the future, which will predict how this big conversation ends, and we will come to that. But in the meantime, there is another trend to do with oil prices, and how far they go, and this has been an additional pressure on our world at a difficult time, and the oil prices, of course, are related to another question, which is the number of people alive today, where they are, and how they live. Today we have 1 billion children alive, more than ever before in human history. Never again will we ever see 1 billion children alive on the same day. All of these children will be adults soon. All of them want the lifestyle of Salamanca or Madrid. 750 million human beings will move from the countryside into cities in the next 10 years. 300 million are in China, and they are driving one of the greatest demands for steel, coal, concrete, manganese. Every single commodity you can imagine will come under pressure as these emerging nations grow and demand their future. And while this is all happening, I want to come back to the biggest word that will drive the future. And it's not technology, it's not politics, it's not even the value of a barrel of oil. The most powerful word that will drive the future is a word that we see running through the history of Salamanca for the last 1,000 years. This is a word which drove the Roman Empire before that. It is a word that controls the result of every political election. It is a word that creates tribes and also terrorists. This word, of course, is emotion. It's about family, teams, belonging. It's about the passion we have, the culture we enjoy, the relationships we wish for. Passion and emotion are at the heart of the past and will control the future. It is emotion that will decide if we have one euro government or many, many nations, even if the eurozone breaks up. This is not just an economic issue. It is emotion that will decide if Germany will continue to bail out Greece. It is emotion that will decide a whole host of issues relating to the marketing of your products and your services. You know, we've heard a lot about passion. We heard about it yesterday, about the need to see the world through the glasses of our own customers. And very often, I see very large companies are blind to their customers. Let me give you an example. I work with many of the largest corporations in the world, and I often see the same thing. I ask them a question about themselves in their personal lives, and then we look at the way they run their business. So here is an example. Oh, by the way, before we get to it, Many of these customers are, of course, getting older. While we have 1 billion children alive, we also have an explosion of new customers here in this age group. 65% of all health spending in Spain is on those over 65 years old. 75% of all the money in America and the UK is owned by people over the age of 65. Most of them are women. In fact, 80% of all 80-year-olds are women, 90% of all 90-year-olds, and 148% of all 100-year-olds are women, because men tend to die quite early. Now, this means that most of my country is owned by very old women. Now, if you live in Italy, is anybody here from Italy? Yes, great, wonderful. In your country, by 2026, you will have 1 million citizens who are over the age of 90. 1 million. Nearly all of them will be women, and all of them will be voting for the next president. So already we have enough older people to control the results of every election in many European countries, and it will soon be the same here in Spain. What does this mean? It means a big change. Let me give you a small example of blindness, literally blindness. Put your hands up if you have been to a restaurant recently and you needed to put your glasses on to read the menu. The reason? You are over 25. Okay. Now, here is a thought. In Salamanca, I walked around last night. We had a wonderful meal. I promise you, most of the money in the restaurants of Salamanca is spent by people over the age of 50, correct? Yes, people like me, people over the age of 50, right? None of us can read the menu. Why? Because the menus are printed in this microscopic text. You can't see it without your glasses, and to make matters even worse, they give you no light, just a candle. So you light a candle, and you're trying to read it with your glasses, and you say to the waiter, please, can you help me? I don't seem to be able to read the menu. My friends, this is crazy. This is the main marketing document for the restaurant, but the main customers cannot read it. Crazy. Let me give you another example of blindness. Put your hands up if you get annoyed when you dial your telecom company because the bill is wrong, and they press 1 for customer services, 2 for iPhone, 3 for broadband. Put your hands up if you get really annoyed by this. Okay. Put your hands up if you are so annoyed that you think people who build these systems should be put in prison. Okay. Me too. Now, okay. Please close your eyes for a moment. Put your hands up if your company uses such a system. Okay. You see, what happens is this. This is crazy. And by the way, many of you are part of smaller companies. If I had telecom companies here, all the hands will be up, right? Even though the same people say that anyone who buys such a system should be put in prison, nevertheless, they themselves are buying these systems every day. What happened? So what happened is this. We land up doing things which we know kill our customers. We know they make our customers really angry. Why? Because we have one pair of glasses for our bottom line, return on equity, and Excel spreadsheet numbers, and we have another pair of glasses for real life. And what I'm saying is this: if you wish to make your business twice as successful as today, then take off the bottom line glasses, the profit glasses, and put your customers' glasses on. How do we do that? By experiencing what they feel. How do we find what our customers feel? By understanding what we feel. And it's when we find our own emotions as a customer, we suddenly have a revelation. And suddenly the menu size has to change, the call center has to change, many things have to change, because suddenly we are feeling the customer's feelings, and that is a very exciting thing to do. And then we realize why the customers are behaving like this, and we begin to see a solution to it. Now, of course, our world is going at this incredible speed. How far can technology go? We've been talking about the internet, we've been talking about social networking, broadband, online, mobile, and the rest. How far and how small will these devices get? Well, the screens get smaller, but you have noticed they also get bigger as well. We don't really have the answer to this. People have considered building mobile devices into their own bodies so that their own hands can be part of a communication system. Can we go further? Yes, we can make the clothes part of our communication network. The Internet of Things, billions or trillions of devices, all communicating together at the speed of light. We are only in the first 5 minutes of the first hour of the digital age. The question is, what happens in the next hour? Could we create a device which allows your brain to communicate directly? Yes, we can do it with a method of collecting electromagnetic waves, and we heard yesterday about neuromarketing, methods of listening to the brain. But we can go further. We can stitch the brain cells into the brain, into the chip itself. Here are brain cells growing on the surface of a computer chip. And as they grow, they are trying to reach other brain cells. Whenever they touch another brain cell, they feel the electrical connection, and then they put out another branch, and then another branch, and then they build bandwidth between themselves. If there is an electrical communication from a nerve cell to the surface of the chip, then the nerve puts out more branches into the chip itself, and we land up with a bio-digital brain. Now, nerve cells, your nerve cells, are genetically programmed to grow into chips. Every one of your brain cells knows how to grow onto a chip. Because the chip, the electricity from the chip, gives the same kind of signals as a nerve cell. It's amazing. I'm telling you history. This was done in mice and rats in the 1990s. We have mice and rats which are able to send a signal from their brains, from one brain to another brain. One mouse says, "I am thirsty." The other mouse in Madrid says, "Okay, I give you some water," and presses a lever. The mouse in Salamanca gets some water. The mouse in Salamanca says, "Thank you," and presses a lever and releases food for his friend in Madrid. Now, these experiments have been going on for a while. How far can we go with this kind of technology? Could we create a way of sending email by thinking? Could I transmit a photograph to you now of what I am imagining in my mind? Maybe. But the question is, who would like it? Put your hands up if you would like to have one of these chips inside your brain. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put your hands up if you are sure this is not what was intended when we were made. And I do not want to have chips inside my head. Put your hands up if you know you do not want chips inside your head. Okay. You see, the future is not about innovation. Innovation simply allows us to do more things. The future is about emotion. It's about how you feel about technology. And that will decide if your children have one of these chips at the age of 3 or not. And that is therefore the most important question we need to ask ourselves about the future of marketing. Because we live in a noisy world, and it doesn't matter if you are in Japan or in a service station on the way here from Madrid. How are we going to connect with our customers? How are we going to capture their attention? How are we going to persuade them to change? It's all emotion, but it's also something else as well. You see, it is true that innovation is not enough to succeed in other ways too. Here's an interesting fridge. This allows you to surf the internet and get a food recipe at the same time as getting milk out of the fridge. Put your hands up if you have one of these. Put your hands up if you would like one. I personally would not, because there is always traffic congestion on the fridge door. My son wants a beer, I want some milk. My wife is looking for the steak, and my daughter is looking for fish. And at the same time, my youngest child's friend is trying to surf the internet. This is a very good plan. I would encourage him to use his iPad instead. What about this one? This is a surfboard which allows you to do your email at the same time. As you can see, this is a very popular product. Now, we hear a lot about convergence, and it is true that every device is becoming convergent. We have TV, radio on a phone. We have cameras on a phone. The camera becomes an email system, and so on. But there is a problem with this wonderful convergence story. Firstly, it's so boring. I don't know about you, but I get very bored by cars. My wife and I have a car which is 38 years old, and we enjoy driving it very much because it doesn't look like any other car. It's different. It doesn't have air conditioning. It has no electronic locks, and all the other terrible things that every car in the whole world now has, this car does not have. Every car that you see in Madrid and in Salamanca has been designed by a computer. You can tell. They all look the same. The back of the car looks the same. Even the colors are almost the same. In my country, almost all the cars are gray, and they're all designed in a wind tunnel, right? So convergence produces hundreds of millions of identical products and services. It means every phone becomes the same. Everyone wants to look like an iPad. If someone invents something better than an iPad, then iPad will copy it and will converge again. So every mortgage product for a home becomes the same. Every washing machine becomes the same. Every sailing boat looks the same. It's extraordinary how convergent we are. I notice the lack of style amongst the men in this room. We are all wearing shirts, ties, and jackets. Extraordinary. You go from Japan to Singapore, from Madrid to London, and we all dress the same. Extraordinary. But it is so boring. I want to suggest to you that all innovation, all true innovation, cannot be convergent. All true innovation must be doing things different. It must be going out from the center, onto the outer edge. It's exploring, challenging, doing new things to serve people in surprising ways. So that's why I'm interested in this issue here as well, because here is another reality check. You see, you can get rid of all of these and converge them onto this device. This costs €1. How many of you have one of these? Like me, you are in love with these, yes? Now, it only costs €1 to converge your life, to tidy it up, to get into the third millennium. But why is it that we carry on with these ones? Because we are emotionally attached to them. Because they are somehow easier to use. So while we talk about convergence, actually the truth for the customer in their heart is that they love divergence. They love actually having lots of different things, and all in real innovation, as I say, is doing things differently. So what does this mean for marketing strategy? Well, firstly, in an internet world, it means a move away from the converging. Converging is we all hype, we spin, we produce more attractive video clips and bigger, brighter colors, and we create a lot more noise. But marketing is changing, and there's a reason. It's changing from hype to truth, from big, bold claims to revelation and information. Why is that? Well, the main reason, of course, is because of the internet. And the impact of social networks has only just begun. As I say, we are in the first hour, really, of this whole process. It's all to do with trust, and we see this on places like YouTube. YouTube is the largest TV station in the world. We see it on the 1 trillion page views a month of Facebook. We see it in the fact that huge corporations are now trying to recreate themselves as social institutions connected with their customers. How many of you have been to TripAdvisor? TripAdvisor, you type in the name of a hotel and up comes TripAdvisor. And imagine you are typing in the name of a hotel in London, and up comes the first listing on Google is wonderful hotel, good value, superb service, beautiful. The second listing on Google is terrible, food poisoning, rats, insects, and I nearly died. In fact, the next 8 or 9 or 10 listings are all community comments about the hotel. You can't find the site. This is good news for Google because it forces the hotel to buy advertising on the right-hand side, and up here on the right we have the official marketing response. We have the official website, the official statements about the hotel. Now, I am asking audiences all over the world a simple question. Where do you go? You have 3 choices. You have some very good news, some very bad news, and you have the official site. Put your hands up if you go first to the very good news. That is the place you will click on first. 1, 2, 3. Put your hands up if the first place you go is the really, really bad news because it worries you a lot. Put your hands up if you go first to the official marketing site for the truth about this hotel. 1. Now, here is an interesting question. Who wrote this comment? The top one. The hotel, thank you. Someone, a friend of a friend. Who wrote this one? The competitor. Now, you knew that. I knew it too. But every time I go to the bad news. Actually, what's interesting, here we have in this room 150 of Spain's most successful business people. and only one of you decided that you actually trusted the official marketing site of the hotel. What this tells us is that in Spain, online marketing is dead, websites do not matter, and no one believes them anymore, correct? Is that what you're saying? Actually, it's the same in most countries. Even though we know that this one is probably written by the hotel, this one probably by the competitor, we still went there, most of us still went there, and refused to go to the official site to learn about the truth. This tells us the power of this medium. It tells us we need to think carefully about advertising. Imagine you own the hotel chain, and you spend 100 million euros a year promoting it worldwide. Just imagine. Imagine, every time you do it, it's a disaster, because the more money you spend in the press, on the television, the more people go to Google. The more people go to Google and type in the name of the hotel, the more people see the news about rats. So the more money you spend advertising, the more you are promoting rats in your hotel. So now we see why it is that large companies and small companies are realizing the truth, which is that the quality of what we do in the customer experience really, really matters. And the good news is this: you might be one of the smallest hotels in London, but if your service is perfect, if you know what it feels like to be a customer, if you take the extra time and trouble, then your service will shine, and you will find yourself high above the biggest chains in the world and the scorings on these kinds of sites, and you will grow your business. So it's exciting because it means you don't have to have a huge advertising budget in this digital world. You just have to have quality and allow the news of your quality to spread like it will. Now, what about TV and other parts of this method of communicating about brands and so on? At least 80 to 90% of all the biggest advertising campaigns will continue to happen using TV as part of that mix in Spain, and that will continue for a very long time, despite the fact that the mobile and other things are increasing. 40% of all mobile phone users in Spain now using smartphones. 41% of smartphone users are going online, and the biggest reason is to use social networking, and the other, of course, is to get a better price on a product. So what does that mean in terms of getting customer attention? TV companies are coming under pressure because they now have the technology to get instant feedback all the time on all of our behavior. Not just the response to the TV ad, but they can see if you are changing channels using the cable techniques, cable technologies and satellite TV technologies. As they're making a program, they could be having a TV show. I could be the presenter. I'm asking my panelist what he thinks about this question, and I'm watching the monitor. And I realized the last question I asked caused the audience to fall in 20 seconds by over 1 million people. That's going on all the time. So the TV companies are under pressure, the marketing companies are under pressure, because the social networks are now moving in to touch the broadcasters and influence what kind of shows they are putting out. But the big question is this: where is he, and how do you reach him? I assume it's a him, looking at the mouse, but he's got two screens open. He's got another computer, an iPad and an iPhone. He's got a landline there, is that? But he's absent. Where do you think he is? We know where he is. He's been there for 25 minutes. He's in the toilet. And why has he taken 25 minutes in the toilet? Because he's doing his email. The one thing he's missing is the BlackBerry. He thought, oh, I better do some work. He's gone to the toilet, he's using his BlackBerry. Actually, it's one of the commonest places for people to download email is when they are in the toilet. Now, the reason I say this is if you want to reach customers, understand how they feel. So the big question is, you are going to stream an SMS campaign to customers using a piece of technology, but where are they at the moment? Is he on the beach, working? Is he in the toilet, at home? Is he watching TV? Except he's probably not. He's actually using Facebook and doing his homework because he's 18 years old. What is he actually doing? And that is the biggest question for advertisers today. Not just what is the person doing, but how are they feeling about it and where are they? So we are seeing explosive growth in ways to market to people according to exactly where they are. So we walk down the road past McDonald's. McDonald's sends an SMS, says, you may like our new Spanish menu, but you are walking in the wrong direction. But if you turn around and you come into our store in the next 360 seconds, we will give you 3 Big Macs for free. So we can create entire campaigns around this, but that's not enough. I am much more interested. I'm not so interested in whether the person is in the square. I'm much more interested in exactly what is around them. I'm much more interested in the fact that they've got inside a taxi in the square and that the person who gets into the taxi is wearing a pair of glasses. And because I can read the radio frequency identification device in the glasses, this is the Internet of Things, these are wireless barcodes. There are trillions of them already being pumped into the environment. And because I can read, I can scan it using my technology. So the customer gets into the taxi and sits down. As the customer sits down inside the taxi, I start displaying my comedy program, and there's an ad coming up in 20 seconds. I have 20 seconds to read his life. So I now know where the taxi is through GPS. I know where the taxi is going because the taxi has put the information in. I can see his glasses. He has bifocal glasses. They are designer glasses, and the bottom part of the glasses is for reading. This tells me he is over 50. He is a wealthy person. He likes designer brands, and he is in serious need of some help. So the ad comes up offering laser correction at a specially discounted price, which means you never have to wear glasses or contact lenses again. Okay? It's sensitive to me. Now, has it broken my privacy? That's the issue. Has it detected some private information about me? Probably not. But it's getting close. And we're starting to see huge ethical issues regarding the information that we are able to learn about people as they just move around. Here is another example from CocaCola. CocaCola has got round the ethical question by asking people their permission. And they say, would you like to join our new marketing campaign? We have special machines which can create a unique flavor for you. You can program our machine to get exactly the right kind of taste for you. Added sugar, less sugar, more sugar, lemon, orange, whatever you like will all come in to this device. All you have to do is sign up for the app and let us talk to you. So as you walk close to a Coke machine, it'll go ding dong, bloop, SMS comes to your phone and it says, we are preparing your favorite drink now. Is this a good idea or not? Coca-Cola is experimenting. Here is another one, another experiment.
Seen the new Honda Jazz advert? Well, now you can download an iPhone app to catch the characters from the film. Whether you're watching it on live TV, computer, or another iPhone, Reach out and swing your iPhone to catch the characters as you see them appear on screen. You can play with the characters by tapping on them. See if you can collect them all. And watch out for some unpredictable extras in the boot.
Yes, I got cat.
Look out for the Honda Jazz app coming soon to the App Store.
So what we're doing here is we're starting to integrate together. It's not just a question of being online or offline, or I go online, I go on web at work, or I use my mobile phone web. We're talking about a completely integrated entertainment and information experience. But in it all, as I say, big questions about how we use that data. So what's the lesson for marketing? The lesson for marketing is that we have one human being. We need to touch their emotion. We need to understand who they are. We need to understand that they're not interested in being offline or online, or calling the call center, or buying the insurance policy using their computer. They're interested in one thing at a time, two things at a time, three things at a time, and we need to be ready to provide a completely integrated experience. So that might mean, for example, filling in the car insurance policy, and up pops the help screen from the call center. It says, chat, can I help you? So the online experience is now becoming a call center experience. You could drive that into your call center as a voice call, or even a video call, or you could leave it within the online system. But the important thing is always understanding how to help the customer best. And what it's about really is just, as I say, having a one customer view. So, just in conclusion, I want to look briefly at this whole area of innovation, because you can innovate in marketing, you can innovate in customer relationship management, you can innovate in product development, but there are a few things that are common to them all, whatever your business is. And this is my question. You see, you only need one big idea a year. In fact, Steve Jobs probably only had one big idea every 3 or 4 or 5 years. The big question is, where do these big ideas come from that will drive your business success? And where do you get your best ideas? Where are you physically when you get them? I was joking about this boy who does his email in the toilet. But let me ask seriously, think about it for a moment. Where do you get your greatest ideas, your genius? Where does this flash come to you? Put your hands up if it comes to you usually at work. Put your hands up if it comes usually outside of work. This is interesting. If your main job as a leader is vision, and if vision is basically to do with new ideas, then actually it turns out that work is the very worst place to develop our leadership. Next question. Put your hands up if you get your best ideas in the shower. Put your hands up if you get them in the bath, a nice long bath. Put your hands up if you get them walking along the mountains or something like that. Put your hands up if you get them when you are half asleep, in that space between being awake and sleep. You know what? This for me is one of the most exciting places. That is why I will never ever go to bed without a pen and a pencil. Me too. Okay, put your hands up if you do that. You carry pen and pencil by the bed at night. You see, this is where innovation happens. You see, you can go to innovation programs. They give you 10 steps to innovation, and they say, we will charge you 500 million euros to come and do an innovation workshop inside your business. And all the time, all you need to do is buy a pencil and a biro and a piece of paper and just record the ideas that come. So the first lesson of innovation then is personal. It's not to do with team. It's to say, when was the last time you put 2 days in your diary and you said, I'm going out? And by the way, Do you think you can innovate when the mobile phone is on? No. You can only half innovate. You see, remember that the difference between being world-class genius and just very good is about 0.1%. But that 0.1% makes all the difference in the world. You think about a fantastic musician who is playing on MTV and someone who's really brilliant. The difference between them, you listen to the recordings, it's very, very small. But it's enough to make them a superstar. So these superstar ideas are not going to come while you're on BlackBerry, email, mobile phone, and the rest. You heard this message, I think, yesterday about focus, didn't you? It was about being careful not to allow email to keep crashing into your day. I'm talking about going further, creating some mental space. You know that to write a long document requires you to be at home, probably. Most of us can write a long document at home in 3 hours when our mind is perfectly clear. At work, it could take you 3 months and it will be bad. Yeah? So we begin to understand that first rule of innovation then. Find out where you get your best ideas and spend as much time there as you possibly can, as a matter of survival for your business. This is not, oh, I don't think I can afford the time. How can you possibly afford not to? The whole future of your business could depend on creating this space. And it's the same if you teach in a business school. It's exactly the same principle. Your new research ideas will come out of the space that you put in your diary just to think. Your brain is the most important asset that you have. It's your genius which creates the future. And look what happens with Google. Google only allow their staff to spend 70% of time on their actual job. 20% is on new ideas to improve their own area, and 10% is on wild thinking or innovation about anything in the universe that could be interesting to Google in the future. So that is a standard for us. The second issue is, why do you get your ideas? Most innovation happens not just because, oh, I had a nice idea. It happens when an idea connects with the biggest driver of the future, which is emotion. It's the idea and the passion, and they fuse together, and there is an explosion. And the more passion you have, the less you need the ideas, because the passion will drive that genius. The less passion you have, the more difficult it will be to innovate. Let me give you an example of it. Imagine a pharmaceutical company. You're a pharma company in Madrid, and you make medicine. And this could be a real story. We have an emergency conference here in Salamanca, and this is the reason. I have called you together because this bottle is killing people. This bottle is medicine for people who are 75 years old, and it contains some very powerful medicine for the heart. It's very dangerous for children, so we have a special top which makes it very hard for the child to open. Last week, we had 2 cases where people were discovered dead on the floor in their home by their children. The reason? They could not get the bottle open. They were dead holding the bottle in their hands. They died in the act of trying to open the medicine. Sadly, and this is very confidential, so we turn off the videotape. Sadly, I have in my pocket here 5 cases where children have died because of this product. Each child was between the ages of 2 and 5, and they died with the bottle in their hand on the floor of their home. Solve the problem, please. We have to find an answer. I do not want anyone to leave this conference center or this hotel or this city until we have found this solution. You are booked out of every meeting. I don't care if it takes 1 day or a week or a month. It's worth it, isn't it? We think there's probably at least one child every week that is dying because of this, but most of the deaths are being missed. We think at least one old person a week is dying because they cannot get the bottle open. Fix it, please. Fix it. Now tell me, do you think you need a change management program? No. Do you think you need an innovation workshop? No. Because we've touched passion, yeah? I tell you this, you will have the answer. You will probably have the answer by 5 o'clock today. And if it's not in this room, you know what we will do? We will start to use some different techniques to innovate, and I'll show you one or two. But it's very difficult to get the same passion when all you're talking about is cutting costs. You see, people think about cutting costs in different ways, and there are lots of ways of cutting costs and innovating, but they are fundamentally not interesting to me. But if you can show people why it matters, if you can convince people of the urgency, you can take every idea seriously, reward people who are prepared to take risks, then you will find your way. And as Steve Jobs said, innovation is just having enough dots to connect. It's usually a way of trying to see old things in a new way. It's trying to get oxygen into the room. Once a new idea springs into existence, it can never be unthought. It's a creation. Most innovation means breaking something which appears to be impossible. Every act of creation is an act of destroying something else. Most innovation is connecting of two different things together. Like, let's say, children playing with water in Africa. What do? We create a wheel which they play on, and as they play on, the wheel goes round and it pumps water up. And this is the result. And here's another one, robots and cells inside human beings. This is a robot which can detect cells and inject genetic code into a skin cell or a nerve cell. Can we do it? Yes, we can. It's called a human virus, and we now create them in the laboratory to attack cancer and things like that. Look at the $40 trillion green technology boom. I think of this extraordinary invention. This is a tomato, but a different one than usual. There is a company called British Sugar was looking to solve a problem. They needed cheap power, so they decided to create their own power using a gas turbine. They collect the power, and they use the heat from the turbine, and it cooks the sugar. Then they decided to collect the gas from the turbine and put a huge pipe running 2.5 kilometers into a greenhouse, and the greenhouse in there is a huge farm. It grows 35 million tomatoes every year, and as a result of connecting this carbon dioxide warm gas into the greenhouse, they now grow not 35 million tomatoes, but 70 million tomatoes a year. In fact, all of you in this room will have eaten tomatoes that have been built from the carbon dioxide waste from a power station. All of you in Europe have eaten these tomatoes. I think it's a clever idea. What about profiting from power cuts by selling your power back when you don't need it? It's happening now. I think about the incredible innovation in Spain using solar cell technology. The ability, we now have the ability to move power from Spain to Russia with almost zero loss. These are powerful innovations. They come from passion and ideas fused together. So there are economic reasons, but also environmental reasons. When you put passion and power, you get innovation, all kinds of things happening. gas and rubber, the ability to convert rubber tires instantly to gas which you can burn in your kitchen in a really clean way. These are exciting things. And when you can create that sense of excitement and vision in your team, then innovation will happen. In almost every company, I find low-hanging fruit. Fruit that can be easily picked. These are innovations that are sitting there in the minds of your people. If you only ask them, they come tumbling out. But often they are afraid to give you their best ideas because they are worried that you will think they are stupid, that it will damage their job. And one of the things we need to do is create an environment where people feel happy and confident to tell you their wonderful ideas. And that is one of the most wonderful things that can happen. Now, let's imagine the pharmaceutical company. We've been in this hotel now for 3 days, and we need more help. One of the most powerful ways to increase innovation is open innovation. And this is a technique which is being used now by many of the largest corporations, whether it's Hewlett-Packard or GlaxoSmithKline and or BP. What happens is you put the problem out to the internet community. So we're using all the social networking tools to solve a problem. I did it the other day. I have 42,000 people following me on Twitter, so I put out a problem. I had an answer within 15 seconds. So you say we have this problem with these containers, we need some solutions, and we offer a prize. And straight away you get maybe 10,000, 20,000 of the brightest brains in Spain, all working on the same challenge together. It's one of the most exciting ways to grow the future. So, in conclusion, what is it all about as I finish? It's all about building a better world at the end of the day. We started by looking at the customers in this uncertain economic environment. We recognized that the future is about passion and emotion. It's about understanding where our customers are. And as we put them first, we will find that the customer drives our innovation. The customer focuses our marketing. The customer captures the very beating heart of every part of what we do. And when we do that, we find our own staff starting to capture that same passion. And they're then proud to go to work. They go to work because they find it exciting and fun, stimulating, challenging, amazing, extraordinary. They do it because we care for their families and their friends. We do it because we're a good community employer. And they do it because somehow they think that when they go to work, they contribute in some small way to the lives of people around them becoming better, whether it's the people in the work, or whether it's people in the community, whether it's the customers we serve, or our wider humanity. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, and that's what this business school is for. And every business school can only have one purpose, really, which is to help create a better kind of future for you, your family, your friends, for those you care for, and for our wider humanity. And as we do that, we will find ourselves rewarded with profit, with loyalty, and devotion. Thank you very much.